Hey Pueblo, I wanted to take a few minutes to describe some of the incredible work your officers are doing to address crime in our community. As you know, in 2021 and 2022, our community experienced a 20.6% and a 12.6% increase, respectively, in Part 1 crime. Part 1 crimes are designated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as 10 serious crimes that occur on a regular basis, have a uniformity of definition, large volume, and a high likelihood of being reported. Part 1 crimes fall into two categories: violent crimes and property crimes. Violent Part 1 crimes include homicide, sexual assault, aggravated assault, and robbery. Part 1 property crimes include burglary, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. In September of 2022, we began using CompStat to address crime in a data driven approach, which came increasingly important with our limited manpower. This system emphasizes information sharing, responsibility and accountability, and improving effectiveness. CompStat includes four core components: 1. Timely and accurate information or intelligence; 2. Rapid deployment of resources; 3. Effective tactics; and 4. Relentless follow up. Using CompStat and applying the components initially met with resistance from the staff, who were already handling an incredible workload amid a staffing crisis. However, the officers stepped up and accepted the challenge, and as you are about to see, this has had a dramatic impact on our crime. First, I would like to discuss the call load the officers have handled so far this year. To date, our patrol officers have handled 66,184 calls for service and conducted an additional 20,578 self-initiated calls for service from January 1st to July 31st of this year. Self-initiated calls are where an officer sees some potentially illegal actions and contacts those involved. Those 2023 numbers constitute a 2% increase in calls for service and 21% increase in self-initiated calls over this same time last year. It is important to stress that since implementing CompStat, our self-initiated calls have increased 21% despite the increase in calls for service and our significant manpower challenges. Despite the incredible workload our officers have endured, they are having a huge impact on crime. From January 1st to July 31st, we have seen a 9% decrease in Part 1 crime. This is an incredible reduction when you consider that legislation hasn't really gotten any better. We have 53 vacancies compared to 30 this time in 2022, and recruitment has been difficult here in Pueblo, as it is in departments throughout the state and country. Clearly, we are still having crime issues in some very serious categories, namely aggravated assault and homicides. This year, we are 9% above last year in aggravated assault. However, it is important to note that in early March of this year, the percentage of increase over 2022's numbers was an alarming 41%. Our Special Investigations Unit has been working extensively with our federal partners to include the FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, DEA, and the U.S. Attorney's Office to address this issue. Through these partnerships, we have made a dramatic change in the trajectory of our aggravated assaults and have slowed the projected increase. As a result of these partnerships, the U.S. Attorney's Office, through our federal partners, has adopted the cases of 17 defendants and are prosecuting their cases in federal court. 8 of these cases have resulted in federal prison sentences totaling 955 months, or 79 and a half years. 9 cases are still working their way through the federal system, and more are being considered for adoption each day. Our officers are working hard to make these arrests, and the impact of the defendants receiving these lengthy sentences is making our community safer, because when bad guys are in jail and not on our streets, crime goes down. The gang and narcotics units are also working late nights to address this increase in gang violence. CompStat data is used to deploy these resources in areas where these crimes are more prevalent, and this has had a positive impact in these areas. The detectives in these 2 units have also made several arrests related to the drive-by shootings we've experienced in our community. This year, they have arrested one 17-year-old male on 11 counts of attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference and illegal discharge of a firearm, a 15-year-old male for 11 counts of attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference and illegal discharge of a firearm, a 14-year-old male for 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference and illegal discharge of a firearm, another 17-year-old male for 10 counts of attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference, and a 20-year-old female for 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference. All these cases were related to the Feed the Family, or FTF, gang. These detectives continue to work to bring criminals involved in these types of crimes to justice. In 2022, to combat the rise of quality of life crimes and help address our growing homeless population, our department created the Directed Investigations and Community Enforcement, or DICE teams, which work within the patrol division. This started with 1-2 officer team and immediately had a huge impact on theft, quality of life issues, as well as homeless outreach. In the fall of 2022, this program was increased to include another 2-officer team. So far this year, the DICE teams have had a huge impact. Since January 1st, 2023, the DICE teams, which had the help of the SROs throughout the summer, have made over 2,789 contacts, 451 warrant arrests, issued 538 citations, and given 796 trespass warnings, issued 90 PR bonds, and recovered nearly $69,000 in stolen merchandise. In addition, they've recovered 17 stolen vehicles and 12 stolen firearms. Theft, or larceny, is a measurement of Part 1 crime, and because of the work of the DICE officers and the proactive work of our patrol division, we've been able to reduce thefts by 12% so far in 2023. Our DICE program is gaining national attention by both large box retailers and other departments, to include other police departments in Colorado, Utah, and Oklahoma. Our criminal investigations unit is doing incredible work under extreme pressure. Currently, we have only 12 detectives. They are divided up as follows: 6 persons crimes detectives, 4 property crime detectives, and 2 special victims detectives. The workload these investigators are under is crushing, yet they are doing phenomenal work. The persons unit handled 28 homicides in 2022 and 30 in the prior year. Unfortunately, this year, with 18 murders to date, we are on pace to end the year with the same number of homicides as the prior 2 years. Despite this crushing load of work, your detectives are putting cases together. 11 of the 18 cases have a suspect identified, a warrant drafted, and/or an arrest has been made in the case. The detectives are actively working on leads in the other cases. In addition to the homicide cases, these detectives work on serious assault cases, shootings, and other serious crimes against persons. The Special Victims Unit primarily investigates cases of crimes against juveniles and at-risk adults. This unit works tirelessly to bring justice to the most vulnerable citizens in our community. Some of the cases they've worked this year include a case where a 21-year-old was contacting underage girls online and meeting them and having sexual relations. Through an undercover ruse working with the FBI, this individual was taken into custody and will face federal prosecution. Another example of their work is the child abuse death of a 2-year-old boy that is moving through the court system. The Property Crimes Unit consists of 4 detectives who investigate all our property-related crimes. This includes auto theft. Our detectives work with the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, or CAPPA, and local agencies including the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, the Canyon City Police Department, Fountain Police Department, and Colorado State Patrol to conduct operations as part of the Beating Auto Theft Through Law Enforcement, or BATTLE team, related to the prevention and recovery of motor vehicle thefts. This year, these 4 detectives and their peers conducted 22 operations, recovered 72 stolen vehicles worth nearly $682,000, and have made 70 arrests. One case led to the seizure of over 8,000 fentanyl pills with a street value of over $62,000. Earlier this year, the Pueblo County District Attorney's Office, the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, and our department began meeting regularly to start working cases to address prolific auto thieves. This has been very beneficial to our efforts in this crime and has put pressure on these thieves. In the past legislative session, Governor Polis signed a law that made all motor vehicle thefts a felony regardless of the value of the vehicle. This law went into effect on July 1st. Prior to that, our rate of increase over 2022 numbers was as high as 14%. By the end of July, our rate of increase over 2022's numbers had fallen to 1%. This demonstrates the reality that legal consequences combined with enforcement can lower crime. The detectives' work on auto theft is in addition to the work they do on burglaries, large-scale thefts, frauds, and other property crimes that occur throughout the year. This is an incredible workload because most crime that is committed in any city is property crime. We continue to work with our peer agencies and the Pueblo County District Attorney to address crime in our community. As I stated earlier, we have strong relationships with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, who have committed 2 agents who work out of our office: the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Marshals Service, and others. We recently asked the Colorado Bureau of Investigations to help us with investigations into special victims crimes and other cases as needed, and they have agreed to help us. We also partner very well with Sheriff David Lucero and the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office to help one another where possible. One example is the deputizing of our traffic officers and the work we are doing together with limited resources to address traffic issues in the city and county. Our detectives also work with the Sheriff's Office on a variety of cases. All these partnerships are important, but it takes prosecution to move the ball on crime, and our relationship with the Pueblo County District Attorney is a strong one. We continue to work as a team to put together complete cases and prosecute violent offenders in our community. A couple of examples include the defendant in an arrest by our battle team who rammed our patrol cars before being taken into custody recently received a 13-year sentence for assault and other charges. The conviction of Tyler Mitchell in a second-degree murder case. Mr. Mitchell was sentenced to 40 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. There are many more examples of this successful relationship, but for the sake of time, I'll move on. One of the biggest issues we face as an organization is our manpower and recruiting. We currently have 53 police officer vacancies, which equates to a 23% vacancy rate. To address this issue, we've assigned an officer to focus solely on recruiting. This officer has traveled throughout Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Wyoming recruiting for officers, as well as extensive work at home here in Pueblo. We've also increased the number of hiring announcements and police academies, changed our process to bring on lateral transfers, and will begin using Pueblo Community College as an additional police academy resource to increase our processes to bring more officers on board. Since 2021, our department has held 6 academies, which has placed a significant strain on our training staff, who also must conduct post-mandated and other in-service training for our officers. This training is necessary to ensure your officers have the highest level of training to do the job. We currently have 5 officers in Class 69 and have made 10 conditional officers to candidates for Class 70, which will start in October. We have approximately 37 individuals who have passed the written and physical agility test to move on to the process for our first academy with Pueblo Community College, which will begin in January. We will be opening another recruitment on August 18th, which will run until November 20th. This will be for an academy which will begin in March or April. Our hope is in partnering with PCC is that we will be able to utilize as many as 5 academies throughout the year in combination with the department's police academy. The recent change to the union contract negotiated by the mayor and IBPO and approved by council, which authorized the increase in starting pay, has for the first time made our department very competitive with Colorado Springs Police Department and other agencies. Our starting salary is now $32.63 per hour, which equates to $67,874 per year. The officers are also scheduled to receive a 5.3% pay raise in January 2024, thanks to their current contract with the city. This would bring starting pay in 2024 to $71,672 per year, or $34.46 an hour. In addition, a quartermaster system was approved whereby the city will, for the first time ever, pay for all the equipment needed by our officers, which will also make us more competitive. These changes went into effect near the closing of our last hiring process for the January Academy, so it didn't bring a big impact on the numbers for that process. We are hoping for better numbers in the process opening in mid-August. For the past 2 years, the department has been working on retention. We've changed several policies to allow tattoos, beards, take-home cars, shorts, and other changes to improve the environment for our personnel. We have also increased our focus on mental health and wellness. One of the biggest factors we must contend with is the immense workload of our staff. The call volume is the highest of any of our comparable cities. In 2022, our department handled 140,120 calls for service. The Lakewood Police Department was the nearest comparable city with 131,759 calls for service, and nearly 10,000 calls for service difference. As an organization, we are working to identify ways we can help lessen this load. The creation of the Community Services Officer position is one such example. This group started with 4 officers and in 2023 was approved to add 2 more officers. As I speak, these new CSOs are beginning their academy training and will be on the street in about 4 weeks. In addition, we are reviewing our response to a variety of calls that can be handled via our P2C computer-based reporting system to free up our officers to respond to higher priority calls and reduce wait times to complete a report. Moving into the future, the Pueblo Police Department is looking to leverage technology to help make us more effective and utilize our personnel better. Part of this process includes the creation of a real-time crime center, or RTCC. This system is modeled after systems that departments around the country are establishing to improve efficiency, provide real-time information to officers, and to solve crimes after the fact. In 2022, I traveled to our sister city in Chihuahua and saw their RTCC. This visit opened my eyes to the possibilities of how technology could help us, especially in our current state of limited manpower. The mayor and Councilor Atencio traveled to Chihuahua earlier this year and saw the RTCC, and Mayor Gradisar and I then traveled to Albuquerque, New Mexico to see their system and hear firsthand how it has helped their department and community address many of the same issues we are facing here in Pueblo. We are also working with Health Solutions to create a new program called Solutions Outreach Services. This program is closely modeled after the Denver Star program and will help our department using teams of mental health clinicians, peer support mentors, and EMT paramedic personnel who will handle low acuity mental health crisis related calls that do not require an officer. This workload is expected to consist of approximately 3% of our current call load. However, this is an area that seems to grow every year. In addition, we will continue to look for new and innovative ways to bring new officers to our department, and I hope that some of you, our citizens, will step up and help our department make our community safer. The job isn't easy, but it is important to us all, and we can't do it without people like you stepping up and helping us. In closing, while I recognize we have more work to do, I hope I have shown how your department is working to reduce crime and improve the quality of life in our community. Our officers are committed to making Pueblo better, and despite legislation that makes this more difficult every day, we have had a dramatic impact on crime so far this year. This snapshot does not capture the work of many other teams, units, and divisions throughout our department. And to those officers and civilian staff, I'm sorry I didn't have the time to include your incredible contribution to our efforts. Thank you for your time.